being an ambassador and then transitioning into business as a business leader. What triggered you to move, and how was the experience?
Yeah, you're right. Many people still refer to me as a former ambassador, and I think precisely because the greater part of my life, my working life, has been in the foreign service. And foreign service, I think that's the only job I've done in my life. And I was in the foreign service for 25 years, from 1975 until I took early and voluntary retirement in 1999 at the age of 48. What triggered me? I think three basic reasons, three or four, but three mostly. First, I think I was burnt out in the sense I was fortunate in the foreign service, or in my diplomatic career. I was entrusted with senior level appointments from very young age. At the age of 34, after being quite active in the diplomatic service, especially on the liberation issues, starting with the independence process of Zimbabwe and other issues of Namibia, South Africa, and others. At the age of 34, I was appointed a personal assistant to the president when President Mwinyi assumed office in 1985.
Okay.
So that was the end of my youth. I lost my...
You lost your youth in that process?
I lost my youth at 34.
Okay.
And from there on, it was one senior level appointment to another. So by the time I was 47, really I was completely burnt out. At that time, President Benjamin Mkapa, whom had been, before he became president, he was my foreign minister twice. So I asked him to take an early retirement. As I said, when I approached him, I was 47, but he asked me to stay on for one more year in Pretoria, where I was posted as Tanzania's first High Commissioner. Indeed, I stayed for one more year. So in 1999, at the age of 48, I retired. So the first reason is I was burnt out. The second reason, in the same way, and precisely because I spent most of my diplomatic career on liberation issues in Southern Africa in particular, and also mediating the Rwandese peace negotiations in Arusha. I felt I had reached the pinnacle of my career because, especially on the liberation issue, seeing Nelson Mandela out of jail, a person that symbolized the liberation struggle in Southern Africa or the world over, and seeing the end of apartheid in South Africa, in addition to other liberation processes in Zimbabwe and Namibia and others. So I felt I'd reached the pinnacle of my career. I sincerely felt there was nothing more exciting that I would have even if I'd stayed on for the...
To be repetition.
Yeah. Even if I was sent to New York, London, Tokyo, it wouldn't have been as exciting as seeing the
as it had been
seeing the
in the liberation.
Okay. Especially seeing the end of apartheid.
Okay.
And seeing Nelson Mandela coming out of jail.
Okay.
So I had a sense of accomplishment that nothing more could beat that achievement. So, and therefore, my work had become boring, and that fire started to
go off slowly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was not enjoying doing my work as I used to enjoy before that. And thirdly, because when I was appointed Tanzania's first High Commissioner to South Africa in 1994, we had ended apartheid. We were establishing new sets of relationship. And personally, before I went to South Africa, I was Director of Africa and Middle East in the Foreign Ministry, where the biggest focus was liberation. When still as a director, when I saw that liberation issues are disappearing from list of priorities. I was one of the people who initiated a change of focus to economic issues. And after all, the whole intention of independence and liberation was to create an environment for socio-economic growth.
Okay.
So I was one of the initial initiators of what we now call economic diplomacy.
Oh, yeah.
And when I went to South Africa, so that was my biggest focus. And as a result, I mobilized a lot of investments from South Africa and through South Africa to Tanzania. Investors, convincing them, having conversations with them. In the process, I also discovered that there are a lot of opportunities on the economic front in Tanzania that Tanzanians could and should grab them. And therefore, I thought I should move my focus now to economic issues and participating, personally in the economic and business processes in Tanzania.
So do you want to watch from the sidelines as the economy was changing in Tanzania? You wanted to be an active participant?
Yes, and this was one of the issues that I asking the president to take leave of my career. And this was one of the key issues that I thought I managed to convince President Mkapa, because he had a very comprehensive socio-economic agenda, especially his economic dream. As you Tanzanians would recall, the whole transformation process, the foundation was with the first president, Julius Nyerere. Basically for him was to transform this country from a collection of tribes to a nation that is deeply integrated across tribal, ethnic, religious, racial divides. I think President Mwinyi started opening up this economy and the politics towards a free market economic system and multi-party process. So when President Mkapa came in, and serving under him, he was the person who modernized this economy by establishing and deepening the macroeconomic fundamentals. He focused on setting out micro policies for various sectors: mining, tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, industry, and so on and so forth. But also, at that time, there was a huge debt burden which was making whatever socio-economic policies and initiatives difficult to execute. We had a huge and sustainable debt crisis. So I think one of the first focus he did was to negotiate the HIPIC program, highly indebted developing countries, to get a relief from debt from both multilateral and bilateral lenders to Tanzania. And I think that also gave a room for the domestic socio-economic transformation initiatives. As well as, the fiscal regime was transformed to be more friendly. The regulatory institutions were established during that time. So the economy was being modernized. And my argument to President Mkapa was that the success and sustainability of his economic agenda would very much depend on having a very strong, modern, transparent, responsible, responsive private sector, but it was also sufficiently indigenous. There was a need, in order to sustain the changes that were being put in place, having a modern and strong private sector that is sufficiently indigenous was equally important. Because you cannot reduce Tanzanians to be passive spectators.